Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 34 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my kitchen, and today I'm going to talk about the Week 10 in the NFL season. We had a lot of great games, so it's time to get the wrap-up, and I'll explain what happened per game. So we look at Thursday Night Football game, AFC South showdown between the Colts and the Titans. The Colts wound up winning 34-17. I didn't expect them to win by that much of a margin. I actually picked the Titans to win, but Phillip Rivers showed up. He had 308 passing yards, a touchdown, did not turn the ball over. Nyheim Hines was the key factor, their running back. He had 115 total yards. He had 2 total touchdowns, 1 rushing and 1 receiving. As for the Titans, Ryan Tannehill, 147 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no turnovers. Derrick Henry, he had 103 yards rushing, but he was not able to get in the end zone. This was actually the Colts defense's first 100-yard rusher they gave up of the season. And as for the Titans special teams, they're pretty much the main reason why the Titans lost this game. The Titans had to punt from their own end zone, and they only punted 20 yards, which set up the Colts right there to score. And when they went to punt again, deep in their own zone, the punt got blocked and ran back for a touchdown. So the Titans special teams really messed them over. They haven't had a good punter this year. Their punters keep getting hurt. If I'm the Titans, I'm looking for a new punter ASAP. So the Colts and Titans are now sitting at 6-3 in the AFC South. On to the Sunday games. You have the Browns beating the Texans 10-7. It was a very boring game, to be honest. It was rainy and it was crappy out in Cleveland, but that's where the running game for the Browns became effective. Nick Chubb had his first game back. He had 126 yards rushing and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, another talented running back the Browns have, he had 104 yards rushing. As for Baker Mayfield, he had 132 yards passing, no touchdowns or turnovers. And Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson had 163 yards passing and 1 touchdown, no turnovers as well. The Browns are now 6-3 as the Texans are 2-7. Next is the Detroit Lions beating the Washington football team 30-27. The Washington football team's quarterback, Alex Smith, had 390 yards passing. He didn't turn the ball over, but what a comeback story for him. He came out and almost threw for 400 yards after that gruesome leg injury he suffered in 2018, which almost killed his whole career. As for Matt Stafford, the Detroit Lions, he threw 276 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. And DeAndre Swift, the rookie running back, he had 149 total yards. He had 1 receiving TD as well. It was a big game for him. It's good to finally see him get going. Detroit always needed a good running back, and it looks like they found their guy with DeAndre Swift. The Lions are 4-5, and Washington goes to 2-7. Next is the Bucks beating up the Panthers in an NFC South showdown. They won 46-23. TB12 had a big bounce-back game from last week's embarrassment against the Saints. He had 341 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interception. He also had a rushing touchdown as well. Running back Ronald Jones had 192 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, and that touchdown came from a 98-yard run, 3rd longest run in NFL history. Teddy Bridgewater of the Panthers, he had 136 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. With Christian McCaffrey out, that really hurt the Panthers' chances of winning this game. When he's in the ball game, Panthers are a good team. You know, they look like they could contend, but without him, they haven't been so great. So the Bucks are now 7-3 as the Panthers fall to 3-7. Next was an NFC least showdown between the Giants and the Eagles. The Giants won 27-17. Carson Wentz had 208 passing yards, didn't turn the ball over, surprisingly. Daniel Jones had 244 yards passing and a rushing touchdown. He didn't turn the ball over, surprisingly, either. The Eagles' run game had 156 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, while the Giants' run game had 151 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Good balance right there between both teams were running. The Giants was the first time beating Philly since 2016. Giants are now 3-7, and the Eagles are 3-5-1. Next is the Packers beating the Jaguars 24-20. It was actually a really close game. The rookie quarterback, Jake Luton, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, threw for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, but 1 interception. Running back for the Jaguars, James Robinson, had 109 yards rushing. Aaron Rodgers doing what Aaron Rodgers does. He has 325 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but he also had a rushing touchdown. Packers receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 4 receptions for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you had him on your fantasy team, I know you're probably happy. And Devontae Adams had 8 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. Packers go to 7-2, while the Jaguars fall to 1-8 and have lost their 8th straight. Next is the Cardinals beating the Bills 32-30. This was potential game of the year. Josh Allen, 284 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bills wide receiver Cole Beasley, 11 receptions, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm the guy who benched him in fantasy. Big reason why I lost again this week. He was just on my bench with 30 points. He showed up. Stephon Diggs, another Bill receiver with a big game. 10 receptions, 93 yards, a touchdown. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray, 245 in the air, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 61 yards rushing, and 2 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins, the Cardinals receiver, 7 receptions, 127, and a touchdown. He had the game-winning catch. There was 10 seconds left. The Cardinals were down by 4 or 5 points. Murray just Hail Marys it. You got to change it to the Hail Murray now, because he just threw this thing up in the air. DeAndre Hopkins had three guys covering him, and D-Hop went up, got it, came down for the game-winning touchdown. That's why you pay that man. That's why he's arguably the best receiver in the league right now. The Cardinals are 6-3, and the Bills are now 7-3. Next is the Miami Dolphins beating the Chargers 29-21. Justin Herbert for the Chargers had 187 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a rushing touchdown. Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa, 2 touchdowns, 169 yards passing. The Dolphins ran the ball very well. The Dolphins have now won 5 straight. Their defense is playing better. I'm telling everyone, look out for the Dolphins, This was a good showdown, though. Tua and Herbert were both drafted this year. This is going to be a battle for the future for years to come. I can't wait to watch. The Dolphins are 6-3. The Chargers fall to 2-7. Next is the Raiders beating the Broncos 37-12. Drew Lock, the Broncos quarterback, horrible game. 257 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. As for Derek Carr, he only threw for 154 yards, but you don't need to throw that much when the Raiders' running game was going off. Josh Jacobs, 112 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and Devontae Booker, 81 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And Booker did that against his former team. He once was a Bronco, so I'm sure for him to put up those types of numbers made him happy against his former team. Next is an AFC North battle between the Steelers and the Bengals, which wasn't really a battle at all. The Steelers crushed them 36-10. Joe Burrow, 213 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Rookie receiver for the Bengals, T. Higgins, had a great game. 7 catches, $115, and a touchdown. But Big Ben for the Steelers, 339 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. Deontay Johnson, Steelers receiver, 6 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, 9 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And rookie Chase Claypool, 4 catches, 56 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. The Steelers defense welcomed Joe Burrow to the NFL. They sacked him 4 times, and they hit him a lot, and they weren't really able to, or Joe Burrow wasn't really able to do anything against them. So the Steelers are now 9-0 as the Bengals fall to 2-6-1. Next is an NFC West battle between the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams wound up winning 23-16. Jared Goff had 302 yards passing, no turnovers. I think he might have fumbled once. But the Rams' running game is what really did it for them. They had 108 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. The Rams' defense stepped up big time. They had 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. Russell Wilson threw for 248 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and a fumble. He's looking like he's not the MVP that he was in the beginning of the season. DK Metcalf, Seahawks receiver, locked down by Rams cornerback Jalen Ramsey. The Seahawks look like they're struggling, but they're still in a position to win the division. Both teams are now 6-3 in the NFC West. Next is the Saints beating the Niners 27-13. This was kind of expected. The Niners hung in there for a little bit, but since they're so beat up, I knew eventually the Saints would take over. Nick Mullins for the Niners had 247 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Drew Brees for the Saints, 76 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He did puncture his lung, so we'll see how this is going to affect the Saints in the future. I'm pretty sure they'll be all right, though. They have a good depth in quarterback. Alvin Kamara, the Saints running back, 98 total yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 1 receiving touchdown. The Saints have now won 6 straight, and they're sitting up top at the NFC South. Next is the Patriots beating the Ravens 23-17. Lamar Jackson, 248 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 55 yards rushing. Willie Snead for the Ravens had 5 catches, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If I'm a Ravens fan, I'm pretty glad to see some consistency at the receiving core because that's what they've been lacking. Cam Newton, quarterback for the Patriots, 118 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no picks. He had 21 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. Jacoby Myers, the receiver for the Patriots, had a passing touchdown. He also had 5 receptions for 59 yards. This kid's improving the last few weeks. The Patriots are finally glad to see some production from him. After last year into this season, he hasn't done really much until the past few games have happened. The Patriots are showing some fight despite being down in their division. They're 4-5 as the Ravens move to 6-3. And for the final game, the Monday Night Football game, the Bears losing to the Vikings 19-13. Nick Foles had 106 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. The Bears' offense continues to struggle. The Bears were 5-1, but now they're 5-5. Their defense is amazing, but their offense is garbage. As for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins played the game very well. He had 292 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Dalvin Cook had 96 yards rushing, which is still pretty good against a stout Bears defense, but Cook's been running like a madman. But for him to get 96 yards, almost got 100 yards rushing against an elite defense, that's a plus. And rookie Justin Jefferson, 8 catches, 135 yards. This kid's showing up, and he could be potentially offensive rookie of the year. The Vikings have now won 3 straight after starting 1-5. They're showing some fight. They're trying to maybe get that 7th seed in the playoffs for the NFC. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, like and subscribe, share my content. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day.